The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, is an agency of the United Nations leading international efforts to defeat hunger all over the world. This organization has been adjudged as the oldest permanent specialized agency of the United Nations, established in 1945 with the aim of eliminating hunger and improving nutrition and standards of living by increasing agricultural productivity. Since its establishment, the FAO coordinates efforts of government and technical agencies in programs for developing agriculture, forestry, fisheries, land and water resources. Apart from carrying out research on ways of improving yields, FAO also provides technical assistance on projects in individual countries. It is pertinent to point out that the 1974 World Food Confab, held in Rome during a period of food shortages in the Southern Sahara, prompted the FAO to promote programs relating to world food security, as well as helping small farmers implement low-cost projects to enhance productivity. In crisis situations, the agency works side by side with the food program and other humanitarian agencies to protect rural livelihoods and help people rebuild their lives. Going by the humanitarian crisis in some parts of the world, especially the Lake Chad Basin area and northeast Nigeria in particular, one is bound to be inquisitive to know how FAO is tackling this crisis that is multifaceted in nature. This will be our focus as the Food and Agriculture Organization's acting country rep in Nigeria, in person of Mr. Nourou Macki, steps up on the program this week. You will get to meet him in a moment. My name is Kemi Fakeye. You're welcome. The program is stepping up, and we are reaching you from the office of the acting country representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization, an organization of the United Nations, in person of Mr. Nourou Macki. Mr. Tol, you're welcome to Stepping Up this week.
Thank you very much. Welcome in FAO.
Thank you very much. Your organization works with 3 ministries in Nigeria. That's talking about the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Water Resources, and Environment. What has been the impact of this tripartite arrangement?
Our main institutional, let's say, entry point here is the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. This said, we are working closely with the Federal Ministry of Environment, Gender, Social Protection. Our mandate is broad. FAO has 5 strategic objectives. The first one is about eradicating hunger, food insecurity and malnutrition. The second one is sustainable intensification of agriculture. The third one is about rural poverty. The fourth one is about value chain development. And the fifth one is about resilience building. So that's why our mandate is broad. So we are partnering with different ministries. For example, if you take environment or water resources, we developed some irrigation strategy, policy. With livestock, we are supporting, for example, policy dialogue on ranching, etc.
Okay, and will you say that your working with these ministries has been impactful on the livelihood of Nigerians?
I will say yes. Let me maybe build on some I will say good examples. The first one is the National Program for Food Security. It took 10 years, but it yielded some great benefit in terms of crop productivity, livestock, and fishery. The second one is, for example, in terms of banana and plantain. We supported the farmers to access planting materials free of disease just by providing, supporting a national laboratory to have this kind of input. If you take also the fishery and aquaculture sector, we support farmers to be in cooperatives. By doing so, they were able to bargain better prices for input, but also better prices for the product. So the access to market was, better for them. The last program, which is important and timely, is Youth Employment in Agriculture program. We supported the government to develop this program, as well as we had a component using our financial resources to support a 3-year program along with the program of the government to build national capacity in terms of youth employment in agriculture. And the success of this program is now, used to develop such kind of program in other countries. So showing that Nigeria is sometimes a model for other countries.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Between 1976 and 2012, FAO has supported and implemented 111 projects in Nigeria. Can you tell us some of these projects, apart from the ones we have already itemized?
I have to repeat it, but the National Program for Food Security was really impactful because it was, led by the government of Nigeria.
Okay.
FAO, we are a facilitator. We are enabling an environment which will, support agriculture development and food security and nutrition. Okay. So the government should be in the driving seat, and we are just supporting the government in order to...
And how has FAO been providing this strategic support for the programs?
The seed policy. We supported the government to have a seed policy and which was, let's say, adopted by the government and by the parliament of Nigeria. We have also what we call the food safety bill. If you are eating food, it should, respond to some criteria, and FAO has developed the food safety policy for Nigeria. The third example I can give you is in terms of irrigation and drainage policy. We also have supported the government to have the irrigation and drainage policy, which is very important in terms of managing, water resources, which can be, challenging in terms of many stakeholders involved around water resources.
In providing this strategic support, is FAO facing any challenge working with the government? And let me make it to how have you been combating, the challenges, if there's any?
I will say no, because in FAO we have what we call a country program framework. The country program framework is an agreement between FAO and the government. So in the country program framework, we will see already main areas of common interest between the government and FAO, which will be our roadmap for 4 years. So for each component, we have already the buy-in of the government because they were involved in the formulation of the CPF. So it's just now a matter of implementation per component. So in the country program framework, we will find our 5 strategic objectives, which will be in line with the government policy. The former government, we have the ATA, Agriculture Transformation Agenda, and for the new government, we have the growth alternative, the green alternative policy. So we are just supporting the government to implement its own policy. That's why I'm saying we are enabler, we are facilitator. And this is in line with the SDG, mainly the SDG 2, and in line with the Malabo Declaration, the Malabo Declaration where we are talking about eradicating hunger. We are also talking about value chain, we are talking about trade. All this we are trying to support now the government to implement it. So I will say definitely our best partner maybe in Africa is the government, and specifically the government of Nigeria. And for your information, the government of Nigeria is even funding FAO to provide more technical capacity, because we are a technical agency. So the government is really supporting us even to develop many many policies and strategies in Nigeria.
And how impactful is the programs of FAO in other areas like livestock, fishery, and forestry subsectors?
Fishery and aquaculture. I think Nigeria is one of the leading countries in terms of fish farming, because now we supported good practices in terms of fish farming. We also supported fish processing by introducing some new technologies. The advantage of FAO is I will say, the corporate knowledge. We have good practices in Africa, in Asia, in other parts of the world. So we'll just take some good practices and bring them in Nigeria. That's why I think in every restaurant it's easy to find fish in Nigeria. If you go even in the north, you have fish farming with catfish, which is a key product in Nigeria. Recently, last year, we introduced fish smoking, new fish smoking techniques in order to support women to avoid, some public health issues related to the smoke, and also, reduce the time they are, involved in doing fish smoking. So this is a simple example of supporting, for example, a sector on fishery.
From your interaction with the government and the people, will you say that it is possible for the government to drive the economy with agriculture? That's talking about the diversification of the economy.
Definitely, I will say yes, because if you know better than us the story of Nigeria, before the oil boom, agriculture was key in Nigeria. Nigeria was a leading exporter of some product. But with the oil, let's say people forget a little bit about agriculture. That's why I think we lost this comparative advantage of Nigeria. But Nigeria, we have the resources in terms of water, in terms of soil, in terms of human capacity to really, boost the agriculture sector. Agriculture will be key for this new economic recovery plan. So I think definitely you have a role to play. Let me give you an example. You are importing $2 billion per year of rice. You can produce the rice here. And using the rice value chain, you can also develop employment. You can develop, employment.
Okay, and will you say the government is on the right path towards, achieving this?
Yes, if you look at the agriculture promotion policy, you will see the government is talking about importation and exportation. So this means that they know if you want to be, a big player, you need to be an exporter. It means that you need to produce enough food for your country and have a surplus to think about exporting. So I think it's a good strategy.
In achieving this aim, this goal of government, what roles do you think our research institutions have to play?
I will say it's very, very important to have both national and international institutions to be involved in this strategy. You have the local capacities in Nigeria, but also Nigeria is hosting at least two international institutions, IITA, which is International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, and ICRISAT, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics. I think you have the local knowledge, but they can bring also the international expertise in the country. They can support the development of new varieties, the development of good practices to be adopted by the farmers. They also can support policy formulation and tell to people, let's say, the right way to do things.
All right, Mr. Macki, we'll apply a short break now. If you're at home, we'll be back in a moment. You're welcome back. The program is still stepping up, and we are still discussing with the acting country representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization in Nigeria, in presence of Mr. Nourou Macki. And what we are discussing today is the intervention of the FAO in Nigeria, how impactful, and agricultural development generally in the country, and how close the government is in achieving its objective of driving the economy with agriculture. This second part, Mr. Toll, will focus on your humanitarian intervention in the northeast Nigeria. What informed the decision of your organization?
In 2016, we had what we call the CAD harmonizer analysis. It's a tool supported by SAILS, FAO, WFP, and many NGOs, and FuseNet to do food security analysis. The results were a little bit worrisome because we have some 5 million people food insecure in the Northeast. In Africa, Nigeria is ranking first among the countries with the high number of food insecure people due to this crisis. So it was a wake-up call for the humanitarian community and for all the world to know that we are facing something which a country alone cannot, manage. That's why we put in place what we call internal procedures in FAO to support the Northeast. Now we have a fully dedicated office, a sub-office in the Northeast with national and international staff to support agriculture, rehabilitation, and recovery and development in the Northeast.
How are you collaborating with other donor agencies?
FAO and WFP are what we call the lead agency, the co-lead agencies for the food security working group. In the humanitarian language, we are talking about cluster, but in Nigeria, we don't have cluster. We have the food security sector working group. And with the leadership of the government, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and the FAO and WFP playing the role of secretariat, we are supporting what we call in our language a kind of 4W matrix, who is doing what and where, to avoid duplication, to have synergies of action between people intervening in the Northeast.
How far has this been able to assist your intervention?
In 2016, we were able to support the rainy season, and we were able to support the dry season as well. We are providing the farmers with essential critical inputs to be able to cultivate their land. If you provide farmers, for example, in the outskirts of Maiduguri, with vegetables, seeds, and fertilizer, they will be able to be self-sufficient in terms of food. So it means that they will not rely on food aid, and this is something we need to factor in. We need to have a combination of food assistance, but also with agriculture restoration.
What do you think can be done to restore the lost glory of the Lake Chad Basin?
We need to have a multi-sectorial approach, because it's...
And what are these approaches?
Yeah. We need to address first the issue of climate change. Because climate change was something which has impacted the Lake Chad Basin in terms of capacity. The second thing is addressing socioeconomic drivers. Access to education, access to health services will be key. And the third issue should be about, this economic part, creating economic opportunity, mainly for youth and for women. We need to empower them in order to create, economic opportunities.
Okay. And is FAO providing intervention in this area, in the resuscitation of the Lake Chad Basin?
We are trying to work on that, because we have this, Green Climate Fund, which can be an opportunity to address this issue, having a kind of regional approach. We are also working closely with what we call the Lake Chad Basin Commission, which is an multi-country organization.
it will be an understatement to say violence has taken over the means of livelihood of the people in the northeast Nigeria. How do you think this can be addressed to avert food insecurity in the country and even in the region in particular?
What we need, first of all, is to have good information, food security information system in place, because you need to know what will happen in order to prevent it. It's better to prevent than to cure, as you know. So we need to put in place information systems, and this should be done by strengthening the capacity of the national institution. For example, here we are working with the National Bureau of Statistics, but also we are working with the State Ministry of Agriculture to put in place such system, because if you have the information, you will know what will happen in terms of harvest, and in terms of price monitoring, etc., to have a good situation of the food insecurity of the people, so that you will know what are the needs and you will put in place a strategy to address the needs.
Can you talk more about the new strategic plans for the Lake Chad Basin, by the FAO?
In the 7th of April, we had the chance to have our DG to visit Maiduguri himself with the Regional Director for Africa, Mr. Bukar Tijani, and the date of emergency. During his visit, the DG launched the 3-year strategy for the Lake Chad Basin. This 3-year strategy is supporting crop, livestock, and fisheries and natural resource management in the Lake Chad Basin, because all are interlinked in the Lake Chad Basin. You know, we have a complex ecological system, and you need to have this holistic approach to really address the root causes of the crisis in terms of economic empowerment of youth, women, and men, to be fair.
Nigeria is still facing this crisis of herdsmen and farmers clashes here and there. How do you think this can be averted? What do you think is the solution to this problem?
Dialogue. We really need to have a dialogue between the key stakeholders of this, I will say, crisis. You know, you have the private sector, you have the farmers' organization, you have the herders' organization, you have the traditional chief, etc. You need to really do a stock taking of who are the key players who have interest in this, livelihoods. If you can bring them all together and discuss the key issues, you will, let's say, maybe not find a final solution, but you will be able to have at least a kind of roadmap to see how can we address everyone, issues in this complex.
Will you say that, the provision of grazing reserve is part of the solution to the problem?
It can be part of the solution if it is well, managed, because if you have to develop a strategy or a policy, you need to have all stakeholders consulted to see what are the constraints and the challenges and the opportunities of each of the stakeholders. If you don't have this consultation, you can develop a strategy or a policy, but you will not have the buy-in of all the people you want to support or to help.
If you are to assess the workings of your organization with Nigeria government, the present administration in particular, will you say it has been nice working with the government?
Very nice. As I said, they are our key partner. We were honored and humbled to have the Honorable Chief Oduogbe in Maiduguri during the visit of the DG, and they really, have good discussion for the way forward. So we think with the new agriculture promotion policy and the new country program framework we will develop for 2018 to 2022, we will be able to have some new area of cooperation.
Mr. Nourou Macki, the acting country representative of FAO in Nigeria, it's been nice talking with you on Stepping Up this week. Thank you for being our guests.
Thank you very much.
On this note, viewer, we shall be saying bye-bye on the program this week. Join us again when we shall bring you another guest to talk about salient issues as it affects the people of Nigeria. Thank you for being there, and bye for now.